website. And on this episode today, we're just going to go straight into it. We're going to speak about and get right to the point on what I grew to understand from different versions of us. And by us, I mean those who have spent their life trying to research to understand the things in life that most of us haven't understood yet or can't understand yet. And for versions of us that do understand, there's no need to watch this. For the versions of us that don't understand, welcome. What is life, right? That journey that you're on, that we have, well, I've gone on, questioning what it is this that we looking at, that we've created for ourselves in every essence. And why? And why not? But on the most basic levels is what we're going to start on now, with the most basic information for those who have yet to understood what it is. So what is life? On the most scientific and religious basis, but we're going to use more scientific on this subject right now, and on the cellular level. So we know that the cell stores DNA. Now, what is DNA? DNA is information, different types of information, but it's information for life. It's a coding for life itself, physical life itself. So within this coding, there's different versions of, I like to say ourselves, but there's different versions that can come out, from a giraffe to a fish to a shark, elephants, etc., right? Plants. So now this cell chooses an environment. We're going to use Earth for an example, because that's the planet we're on right now. So this cell chose Earth, right? Now, however this cell got here, whether it was a rock from another planet that existed, that destroyed itself, or whatever is the case, and that cell attached itself, and it's still part of the rock because it is the rock technically, right? And it comes and it hits this other rock, which is the rock that we're on. Now, this cell still stores the information of us inside of it, right? But the time frame for the cell to reach the level of awareness takes a while depending on the environment. So now the cell can make produce whatever is needed to, first of all, make the environment suitable for what the cell chooses to be the host, the suitable host, or whatever comes out as the suitable host for that environment is and it's self-aware. It's the one that ultimately pushes on. But back to the basics. So the cell now, it's on the rock. It's landed on Earth. It creates a version of itself, plants. So now the plants come out, and what is the plant's job? Well, the cell knows there's a version of itself that uses oxygen and loves oxygen and likes oxygen. It chooses oxygen to thrive off of, let's just say. So it's going to manipulate the environment until it's suitable enough for that version of itself to be able to be present in that environment. So now the cell landed on the rock on Earth. It creates plants. It turns itself into plants, right? And then the cell transformed into fish. It turns into cattle. It turns into, by cattle I mean cows. Sorry for using cattle. And dogs, every animal you can imagine, right? Until it reaches, let's just say, humans, right? It's a version of itself where it's self-aware, where it's questioning its environment, right? It's learning about its environment by the versions of itself that are not aware yet, but interact and help the environment exist, right? The bees, the butterflies, they all do the job so that we, us humans, I would say, can thrive, right? This is the environment we like, and it likes because it needs, and that's what it knows to do, and that's what's coded in it to do. So now the cell, now that it's self-aware became us, it's us, it realizes that it needs to survive. Survival is the one thing that is encoded into the cell, because without survival, there's nothing, right? Without life, there's death, as we think, as we know. And so now that the cell itself is aware now and is questioning everything, it still ultimately knows the goal is to preserve itself and keep spreading life. So now the cell that is self-aware just keeps spreading everywhere and just keeps duplicating and replicating, because that's the task, to keep replicating ourselves so that we can exist. Without existence, there's just a lonely version of ourselves out there in the universe. I like to say that is the universe. And this life is what brings joy to it, kind of. But now, so then you try to grasp all that, right? And then you take the cell, and you can collaborate this with a lot of things. So I like to say our future meets our past. What do I mean by that? In today's time, you can literally travel in time. You can go, you have the most advanced civilization as we know, a version of ourselves, operating on a high level. And then you have a version of ourselves that lives in the jungle, that is not aware of what's going on, don't understand technology, and translate it and what it understands through religion, right? So you have tribes that create levels of understanding of what is, and what they don't know, they just fill it in. So they draw in these planes that they see on the ground. They're observing little technology that we're out, but to them it's like we're gods, or we're what we would call now aliens, right? Now, in that same timeline, right, because in this timeline we exist, I say, I don't know if it's just for now, but you can use now to see into the past and to see what is going to be, kind of. And if you truly understand what it is, then you understand why. But if you don't, this is why you're here. So, now, just as there's a version of us that exists at the same time on the same planet that is unaware, right? Even we are the version of ourselves that it's still unaware. And we're calling the things that we are unaware of aliens. So I feel there's a version of ourselves on this planet at the very same time with us. And that operates on a higher caliber and with higher technology. And I'm not the only one that thinks this. Scientists, governments, etc. believe this. And if you understand, and you believe this, and you know why you believe this. But there definitely is, the aliens is us. It's just a higher version of us operating on a higher caliber. It's that simple, right? I don't need to break it down any other way or try to go too deep or try to add too many words to make it sound anything more or less than what it is. So why do I say the aliens is us, right? Well, I could break it down to you with science and just facts almost. If you look at how we're operating, and if you want to take what I said and reference back to how those cavemen or those tribes that still live in remote places and are not contacted by today's civilization are operating on a time loop that is completely different than the time perspective that we use in today's time. They are not aware they probably can't even see the ones of the version of ourselves that is out there that is on the higher level. Right, because they're trying to even translate what they're seeing from us that we're putting out there, right? So imagine us, we're still here trying to figure that out, that version of ourselves out. But if you really just look at it, you can see how a version of ourselves can and will, with AGI, with quantum physics and quantum computing entering the field. And those of us that understand know what I'm saying. And you can see how there will be a version of ourselves that would be far more advanced. And we all know this, right? We watching a million videos about this, a million podcasts about this same subject. Religion, been talking about this. But if you understand, then you understand it's just a version of ourselves that either is not aware or is aware and has chosen to pick a path for himself. And So the aliens are just us. And if you can't comprehend that right now, take back and rewind to the video when I was breaking down the cell, right? And then the cell, how the cell stores all this information, right? And has all this information. Now you could get to well, where did the cell come from? Well, it's pretty not simple, but I would just break it down this simple. All these rocks obviously come from another rock, right? It's that simple. This planet, it's a rock, a piece of a rock from another rock. Asteroids are pieces of another planet. Planets are pieces of another planet. So if you just put all the pieces back together, it most likely was one big rock. And they had the mixture of combination, most likely exactly like we have here. And why do I say that? Because the code is in the DNA. Even though it replicates in different environments, in different manners, in different ways, like you have in water, like you have in land. But the sharks, the seahorses, the horses on land, they kind of reflect each other in some manner, in some way. It's similar, but you see why they're different because of their environment. That's the only thing that changes the outcome of the picture, but ultimately we know what the drawing is about. We know why the drawing is why they're drawing it, or why we're drawing it. So I like use that cell, use the beginning, use the most simplest form of ourselves, of what is, to understand the later version, right? And then you can go back to, you see why you see how hard that is to archaeologists. You see how historians and stuff that come out with new information and find these old artifacts with pictures depicting things. It's the same translation of the uncontacted tribe, right? Deciphering or trying to translate what they're seeing, the technology that they can't understand. It's the same thing our ancestors. So yes, there was advanced versions of us at the same time before, when our ancestors lived. So it would just be like America, and you would have like, I wouldn't say wherever, in whatever countries, even in America, there's property. Whatever country you want to choose where those uncontacted tribes are, or what you would consider a third world country or second world country, that's the same ideology that happened through history. It just keeps repeating itself. So Atlantis would have been America, right? And then the whole world would have been everything else outside of America. Then you have China upcoming. Then you have, well, some would say Saudi Arabia is a little better. But what makes America really America? Just the freedom for me to even communicate what I'm communicating to you right now. That's it. Because there's versions of us. There's us that are aware that we're hurting ourselves, because everything is literally us. Like, I don't want to code anything. It's literally us. It's the cell duplicating itself, but when you go back, it's literally the cell. So what does that mean? That it's you, right? When you have your kid, I don't have kids, but you had your kid, your child, you understand that that's a reflection of you, because it's literally part of you. It's your DNA. And the wife, the female, knows it's part of her because she literally made it and formed it inside of herself, right? And went through all the pain the mother and father understand what it is, right? The child doesn't, right? That's why that love is different and attached in a certain way that the child doesn't understand. And if you can't understand what I'm saying right now, I understand, because I only understand this through my questioning of what life is, and what life. I questioned life at a young age, and I literally wanted to get an answer, and I'm still trying to get an answer, but now I feel like I understand. Certain sciences, specifics, I could try to figure out why it's there, why we created it for ourselves. But it won't be too hard to figure it out if I just ask the main question, why would we need it? And when I say we, and you start adding the principle and the main ingredient to everything, that you understand is just a form of you. And there's versions of you, just like if you was trying to express, you watching this right now, if you was trying to express what you're watching or the information you know right now to a version of yourself that was younger, you know that you wouldn't understand that. That version of you wouldn't understand what's going on, right? That version of you would be ignorant, most likely would be focused on partying, whatever it is, because that's just where you was at that moment. So you can't blame the versions of you that don't understand what it is, but you can blame the ones and the versions of you that do understand, fully understand. If you understand what it is and you understand it's really us, then you understand. And there's really not much more that should be or needed to say after that. So when you click this video and you say, what is life? And if after this video you couldn't really get it or grasp, internalize, like people could put 1 + 1, but somebody could show you how to do something and you're going to keep doing it how they showed you. But until you could do it how you know, until you do it your way, that's how you know how to do something, right? So until you really internalize what I'm saying right now and realize what I'm saying when I say that everything is literally you, a version of you that is either aware or unaware, or on the stages of being fully aware. But once the version of you is fully aware, there's no excuses, right? And we're not going to make any. We understand what it is. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming on to this episode. We're going to have a bunch of more stuff speaking later, but I have a lot of things, and you have a lot of things that you have to do to help us. And that's really the goal, man. How can we help ourselves? When I mean ourselves, I mean the other version of you that doesn't understand, so we can all be better and make this paradise, make this the heaven, that version of heaven that we had before, that somehow maybe we destroyed or is still out there, you know? And there's a version of ourselves that just created this game for ourselves as enjoyment. You have a great day. May you understand, and if you don't, keep on going until you internally understand what I'm saying. You have a blessed day.